welcome back to Fat Cat's channel. Merry Christmas! Well, I can't keep calm about it anymore. It's already here and I'm sitting in my home doing nothing, clicking pictures like always. Anyway, so we're going to jump right into the video today because I'm doing something that is very close to my heart. I'm going to talk about editing in Lightroom. That's right, I have got this as a request from a lot of my followers on Instagram, and I thought that this is the best time to do it because winter is a very good time to start editing like crazy, like me. I'm going to share my tips and tricks with you. I'm going to tell you 10 best ways which I have shortlisted up and I think that are extremely helpful in editing in Lightroom. It makes your job easier. So let's get started. Okay, so point number 1 is to keep your pictures very well exposed from the beginning, which is to say that I know all of us think that we're going to fix the light and the contrast and the exposure up in the post-production like in editing, but it will not work if you are not adjusting the highlights and the shadows right when you're clicking the picture. For example, if you're clicking something under hard sunlight and you think that we can fix this later on, and then you come back home and then you put it up on the editing table, whichever app you edit in, you decrease the highlights and you see that there's like a white patch which is like a burnt area, basically the pixels which have been overexposed and turned to white, which means that those particular pixels do not hold any more color information anymore. You can't do anything but to keep the highlights as they are, like as you clicked it. So a lot of us are clicking pictures in our DSLRs and our digital cameras, and we know how to click in RAW so that we don't have this problem back at home. But this is basically for beginners. Clicking on a smartphone, make sure when you are clicking on hard light, you adjust the brightness on the toggle switch that you get right on your camera app screen, and you adjust that to your liking. Okay, point number 2. It is not rocket science. Do not get intimidated by the word Lightroom. I know that you know that a lot of professionals are using Lightroom to edit their pictures along with other apps, along with Photoshop and all, but I know a lot of my friends who say it's an Adobe product, so it's professional, we cannot. It is nothing like that. It is a very user-friendly platform. I would suggest you to start using Lightroom on your phone. There's a phone app for Lightroom, yes, and I prefer that as well because it's very easy for me because I have Wi-Fi on my camera and I take the pictures directly on my phone, and it is very useful for me particularly because I click and edit a lot of pictures per day. Sometimes one picture edit takes a time of 1 hour or even more, and honestly the more time you give to your editing a particular picture in the beginning, the lesser time you're going to take while editing the same kind of pictures later on, say 1 or 2 years later, when you're already in the hang of it and you know exactly what presets or what exactly to adjust, and it's all in your mind. Okay, so the third point is very important. Do not over edit, do not over structurize. I know it might be very overwhelming in the beginning to find that your picture, which has turned out to be hazy, can be structurized in Lightroom, and they're boom, oh my god, my picture is sharpened all of a sudden, and I can increase the saturation and everything is just so bright. Well, let me tell you that a lot of colors and a lot of structurization, a lot of grains give rise to a lot of noise and unwanted disturbance. I don't know if I'll call that disturbance, but well, to a person who is looking forward to your picture or who is scrolling and seeing your picture on their screen, they are expecting something which is very calming to their eyes, and a lot of colors, a lot of everything here and there might just be extremely overwhelming, and that might lead to them not liking your picture. That might be one of the reasons why you are not getting the required number of likes or the required enthusiasm from your followers. So try to keep it mellow, because there's a lot of chaos around. They generally prefer something that is a very desaturated color, one particular tone that overpowers the entire picture. Professionals set their table or set their place up in such a way so that they have a maximum number of same colored stuff. So you gotta give them that calmness. Okay, point number 4, going straight to the Lightroom app. Once you install it and open it up, there are a plethora of options. There is effects, there are profiles, there's healing, there's light, there's auto, there's color, and all of this might feel very claustrophobic at once, and you might be like drowning in an ocean of options. But let's take it slow. Let me tell you, your best friend in Lightroom is going to be the color tab. Like, hands up, color tab will take you to your path to glory. Contrast, exposures, shadows, highlights, you can more or less do this on every single app. But what Lightroom is most famous for is efficiency in changing colors, tones of colors, curves of colors, the hues and the saturations, along with the luminance of each color that you can change individually and toggle and switch individually as and how you like. So that's how Lightroom makes your work easier as an editor. What I do is that I directly go up to the mix option, the mix button that's on the right hand side top corner beside the color. So once we go to mix, there's like a 4 directional switch. I basically click on that, and then you go on to the point where you want to change your color or your saturation. For example, I want to change the hue of this tea that I clicked. I want to change it to something of a more yellowish and orangish tinge. Right now it's more of a brownish and a reddish kind. So I'll directly click on hue, and then I'll go to the patch of coffee that I want to change. So I'll just toggle that up and down. So down, we can see that if I go down, it like makes it more pink, and if I go up, it makes it more yellowish and orangish. And then I'll just move up the saturation a bit, maybe. Yep. And the luminance, will adjust the luminance a bit. Luminance is basically how dark or bright you want that particular color to be. Okay, so point number 5 is that your next best buddy in Lightroom is going to be the effects tab. Let me tell you why. Because in the effects tab, you have pretty much most of the options that will make your picture pop out on itself. For example, I would like to make the clarity of this tea pop out more against the background. So what I'll do is that I'll increase the clarity. So there's an option called dehaze. So if you have a picture which is like overtly bright and blasted with a lot of light, bringing down the exposure or the highlights is not working. So what then you need to do is go on to the effects tab and just toggle the dehaze option. So that will like make the colors contrast against themselves instantly. It has the option of a white vignette as well as a black vignette, so you can toggle that as well. Okay, so point number 6 is you might want to know more about the profiles that Lightroom already gives. I can tell you what the ones that I use the most and I find most helpful in the kind of edits and the color that I want to bring. I basically use the artistic number 3 because that is like something that brings out the reddish and pinkish and orangish kind of look out from your pictures. And if you are going for a very wooden kind of a textured feel, let me tell you that even after you click on these profiles, it will not exactly give you the exact color that you're going for, you'll still have to change the hue and the saturation and the luminance from the color tab. Files just give you an already given color to work on. It just guides you, but it does not finish the job for you. So yeah, you gotta do that hard work yourself. So in modern, the one I love is the number 8, because the number 8 again gives you a very saturated and kind of contrasted orange look. If you're going for something like that, it will guide you through it. It will give you a preset of what your picture might be looking like after the edit. Very often than not, they just oversaturate the orange color, which I'm sure is not the one you're going for. My current favorites from vintage that I am using extensively right now are the vintages 6 and 7. So 6 is again something very close to modern 8, but I like vintage 6 more than modern 8 because it doesn't give you that high contrasted a picture like modern 8 does. But what happens in vintage 7 is that the shadows are more inclined towards a greenish side. I like it because it lives up to its name and it gives overall a very vintagey look. I'm going to do a separate tutorial for editing pictures in the moody style, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so point number 7, do not over greenify. I know this has been a very recent trend and a lot of people are going for the 60s and 70s feel and they're trying to put in a lot of grains, but let me tell you that more often than not it's very intimidating for a person who is looking for calmness. Again, it might be too much of extra noise and too much of a distraction that is making the viewer look more towards the grains and overlook the other composition that you might have created. A very wrong use of grains might defocus and decenter your picture altogether. So my suggestion would be, and this is what I have found out with experience with editing, is that I'd suggest you to use grains mostly in very brightly lit pictures or pictures which have a lot of highlights going on, because when you use it on shadows and when you use a lot of grains on shadows, what happens is that grains, because they are in a whitish color, they pop up against the black shadows and that instantly makes the eye directed towards that. That is not what you want. And when you use grains in lit pictures, the very bright patches or areas of the frame mixes and like bleeds into the grains very nicely, and it gives that torn and very old, very vintagey look that you are going for. But if your creative vision and freedom tells you that you will use grains in dark lit pictures, go for it. All the power to you. Shine like a crazy diamond. Point number 8 is very important, to be patient and to really take your own sweet time to edit. There's a truck passing in the middle of the night and I can't help it. So anytime my edits got over stressful and over strenuous, I used to sleep over it. I used to get up the next morning and I used to start from scratch. I used to scrap the edit that I've already done. I used to put it in the dustbin. Straight you go into the delete bin. I used to re-edit it with a new vision. The idea is basically to not clog your mind that no, I'm going to do it this way only. It's very important to go with the flow, to not be forcefully doing something that your shooting conditions might not have favored at the moment. You click the picture, maybe the light was different, maybe the shadows were different, maybe the angle could have been different, maybe the color of clothes you were wearing could have been different. So there are a lot of factors. If one way doesn't work out, think another way of going around. Number 9 is something that I'm going to talk about more in the upcoming videos. It's that to use the curves, the curve like graph that you get in doing colors. I'm not talking much about that now because this is mostly a video about beginners who are starting off in Lightroom, and I don't want to intimidate you with something which is more on the difficult side and it takes a lot of experience. I myself have not mastered it yet. Much as I have seen around, curves is an extremely powerful tool that will instantly make your work like 10 times easier. Something that you would have gone all the way via shadows, highlights and blacks and exposures. Curves will do it instantly for you if you know exactly what you want. And number 10 is obviously to believe in yourself and to really find your style, because it took me a lot of time to find my style. Actually, I haven't found my style yet. I remembered that phase of my life when I was in college. I was doing my graduation in English from Presidency, and that was the time when I went all crazy out on colors. This is what I used to do. A lot of colors, all blue, whole blue. And if you might have wondered back then how I achieved this, it's basically I used to do it with the split tone option. I used to change my highlights straight to blue and then the shadows straight to blue, and then of course I had to like manually adjust the color of any other element in my frame that might not have been blue. I regret doing that kind of edits. I won't do that now. What's very important is to identify your own like curve of experience and knowledge. And let me tell you this, that no picture you edit will ever give you that satisfaction, like except the last best thing that you did on that picture, and you have to move on to the next picture. So here were my 10 tips to ace your style in like Lightroom. But if you're watching this and if it has helped you understand or gain a bit of knowledge, and if it has like lessened the amount of scare you have in you of approaching Adobe Lightroom, hit the subscribe button, because I will keep doing videos like this. I'll share what I have learned through all of my sleepless nights. Share the video, leave a comment down below of what I might have missed out and what other feature that you would want me to talk about more. I would love to answer them. I would love to make videos on them. Yeah, so Merry Christmas guys, and very 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 happy Christmas and happy holidays and happy new year from the fat cat, and she loves you all. Bye bye.